Welcome to The Dogs Were Good Again. A warning that this episode is going to be a bit heavy. So a content warning for pet death, as well as a broader discussion about police violence. This episode centers around Jameson, a 2-year-old family pet shot and killed by an LAPD officer last weekend in Canoga Park. This happened while him and his human were celebrating the Knicks NBA Finals win. If you recall, last October, we did a very similar episode in the wake of ICE agents randomly killing a dog named Chop. I talked at length about the epidemic of police violence towards pets specifically. Jameson's story is not only worthy of additional discussion, but I do think it builds on that previous conversation. This story is also local to me. This department that is responsible is the one that's supposed to protect and serve me. I think by covering this and expanding on the systems that allow it, ultimately make my physical community and this online community much safer and well prepared. Even though this is a very serious episode, we still have an adoptable special guest who deserves our attention. Hopefully they can provide me and you all some comfort during the episode. For the first time, I have not seen this dog yet. And I'm told that we should do it this way where I haven't seen the dog and then I get to experience the dog with you all at the exact same time.
Oh, that looks like a good dog. That's a good dog. Yeah, that looks like a good dog. A very good dog.
Please join me in welcoming Harold. I now understand why this was the way to do it. Hello, sir. This is a rhinoceros. This guy is actually a rhinoceros. He's gorgeous. He's going the wrong way, but he's gorgeous. Hey, dude. Oh my goodness. Hi. Hello. Your head is bigger than my whole body.
He's very gentle.
Hi, dude. Hi. I love your freaking gold chain. Oh my goodness. You press so many buttons on my computer, I don't even know how to back out of the applications that you just started running. You are a brick. You are a dense boy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so your name is Harold. Okay, I got that. That's about all I got. Okay. You're available for adoption from Real Good Rescue in LA. I didn't know they had rhinoceroses, but Harold is 6 years old. You kinda, I don't have words. You're 6 years old. You are an American bully, 100% American bully. Incredible. He's 65 pounds, but that's the part I don't believe. I'm going to say he's 126 pounds. Let me tell you what Real Good had to say about him. He's been with Real Good since January, and they've kept him from me since then, if you can believe that. He's in a foster home currently. That is who put him in this lovely gold chain. He has not taken it off. So he has the autonomy to take it off, and he has chosen not to. Harold is a talker every single morning and every single evening. He will cry for his breakfast and dinner if it's not on time. Okay. You could probably demand whatever and get it pretty efficiently, I think. He had some paw issues, but they've healed up nicely with some help from a dermatologist. He gets daily eye drops, which you do well with, I hear. 2 walks a day, plenty of naps, cuddles before bed, and that's all he needs. He's figured out what he wants from life, and he has decided not to compromise on those things. And I don't know if you could say no to him for a few reasons. Real Good says if you want a dog with a personality, a presence, and a gold chain, apparently that comes with, Harold is your guy. I feel like you're going to really enjoy the bed once you're on it. All right, well, that, I think he's going to be very effective comedic relief during this episode. And, yeah, if you're listening, this is a really good one to come on over to YouTube and watch because this dog is remarkable. Harold, your adoption fee is covered by Mel in the Pit and Jay. Let's give it up. Fantastic. On behalf of Melon, pronounced like the fruit. Okay, I did get that. Thank you very much. The Lab Pit mix of Arlington Heights, Illinois, now resting in peace as she has earned for being the goodest of girls, guardian, support, and guiding light. Oh, that's incredibly sweet. From her human J, so that her legacy of love and healing someone who needs it most can live on. That is very sweet. Jay and Melon, we really appreciate it. One less barrier to Harold's forever home. He also really appreciates it. Jameson was a 2-year-old golden retriever St. Bernard poodle mix. Most outlets, including us, have shortened that to bernedoodle. Him and his mom, Marie, a nurse originally from New York, were celebrating the New York Knicks championship win. Here he is wearing a Knicks shirt taken earlier that Saturday night. LAPD officers responded to a radio call for a quote-unquote screaming woman at an apartment in the 7500 block of Jordan Avenue in Canoga Park. Officers made contact with Marie, saw a large dog, asked her to secure that dog, and she briefly closed the door. Jameson slipped around her and walked out of the door. An LAPD officer then shoots and kills him. LA Animal Services took custody of his body. LAPD's Force Investigation Division is investigating. No other community members or officers were injured. There are a lot of videos of this situation going around. They're very, very hard to watch, whether they are blurred or not, so we will not be showing those videos. We have one photo that is heavily blurred to give context. It is this one. It's still a hard look, but the videos are awful. So I also caution you during this week, if you haven't come across them yet, I don't think you need to see them to be emotionally moved by this story. Oh, it's right here. Sorry. He was like, I smell a treat and it's got to be close. And he was right. These sweatpants are done after this. Yeah, you're a Julie guy. You're a Julie guy. Some additional context for this story. The LAPD initially used the term rushed as to refer to Jameson moving towards them. But in their official statement, they say he charged at one of the officers. The family obviously disputes the characterization of Jameson as aggressive. Marie said Jameson was not baring his teeth, growling, barking, or acting aggressive in any way. She said that he was just moving towards the officer. There are several angles of Marie grieving over Jameson that I mentioned that spread widely over the weekend. Again, we will not be sharing those. The video and other witnesses verify that there were at least 14 police officers and a helicopter overhead for this call. There's some debate about whether, I don't think it'll come out, so I don't think there's need for a debate, but whether it was originally, they're originally entering, expecting a domestic violence dispute. But in their official report, they only say, quote unquote, a woman screaming, and that's what they were reporting to. So seems a little excessive. ABC 7 reported that there's a memorial growing in the hallway where neighbors watched Jameson die. Jeremiah Garcia, Marie's son, said he was on FaceTime with his mother and heard at least 2 loud bangs. Jeremiah has been taking interviews and has made a few TikTok posts, I believe, about this situation and in the aftermath of it. He described the loss as physical and daily. He mentioned waking up without Jameson at the foot of his bed, seeing the hallway tape. We have to be quiet when they drink. Those are the rules. Are you done? You don't know? As I was saying, he described the loss of Jameson as physical and daily. Waking up without Jameson at the foot of his bed, seeing the hallway taped off, I'm sure is uniquely traumatic. Hearing his mother scream that Jameson was dead. Again, they were on FaceTime. Jeremiah said Jamin loves every opportunity to greet someone. He says everyone loved Jameson. He would never dream of Jameson lunging at anyone. In this story, the other component is the neighbor who initially reported and called the police. I think it's worth discussing why that contributed to what we saw eventually play out. The neighbor reportedly heard screaming and believed someone might be in trouble. ABC 7 reported that the neighbor who called police said off camera that they felt guilty in the aftermath of all of this, but sincerely thought the neighbor was in danger. The call was intended as protection, but as most of us know, that is not what the police provide. How do you not know that the NBA I know not everyone watches the NBA finals, but like, I feel like it was a uniquely heavily discussed topic. Also, I think that this is why there's so much value in community and at least knowing your neighbors, because the first thought should not be the police and probably should be to check in and perhaps knock on the door, to which you would have easily been able to verify that what you were concerned about was not a legitimate fear. Even if you feel, I'm just not sure of the thought process there. And I hope that this episode can provide context as to why that probably shouldn't be your first call. A Washington Post investigation from 2019 to 2021, they found that police responding to mental health calls, wellness checks, or reported suicide threats killed at least 178 people they were called to help. That's in a 2-year period. Calling police into a non-criminal situation can introduce a very well-documented risk of harm and even death. It also could have very well been Marie. It also could have very well been Marie who was shot and killed that night. A couple recent examples that parallel this. Also, just further context that I want to rewind. She was the only one in the apartment, so the police opened the door. She said, "Oh, I'm just, giving context, saying she was the only one there," which immediately made it clear, like, yeah, she was celebrating the game. Before any further questions could be asked, it was about the dog, and then the dog slipped out. Just so heartbreakingly avoidable. But a couple recent examples parallel to this situation. The first I want to mention is Tatiana Jefferson. She was a 28-year-old woman babysitting her 8-year-old nephew. She was shot and killed by a Texas police officer during a wellness check in 2019 after a neighbor noticed her door was slightly open and requested the check. She was playing video games with her nephew in the back bedroom late at night when they heard those noises outside of the police arriving. She grabbed her own weapon for protection. Police body camera footage showed officers walking outside the home with flashlights for a few minutes. Then one officer yells, "Put your hands up, show me your hands," while discharging his weapon through a window. That officer was thankfully arrested and imprisoned for manslaughter. Some others in that exact same bucket, all for welfare or wellness checks. Travis Jordan, killed by Minneapolis police in 2018 after his girlfriend called 911 fearing he might be suicidal. John Albers, a 17-year-old killed in 2018 during a welfare check requested by friends. Magdiel Sanchez, a deaf man fatally shot in 2017 despite witnesses begging police to listen to them, sharing that Magdiel could not hear them. According to mappingpoliceviolence.org, the police have killed 553 people this year already. They have averaged around 1,300 in the last 5 years. This is where I'll briefly revisit the statistics I shared from my video back in October that were most surprising to people. And this hopefully builds context for this episode as well and Jameson's situation. According to an estimate by a Department of Justice official, police officers kill approximately 10,000 dogs every year in the United States. That is 25 to 30 every single day. Here are some of the reasons why they're killing so many dogs. Police rarely receive any training that would allow them to rapidly and realistically assess the degree of danger posed by a dog. And I agree training is needed if you want to correctly identify a dog's signaled behavior in any given moment. But as a reminder, Jameson was a Doodle wearing his favorite shirt. I don't know what kind of loser unloads into a bernedoodle. So while I agree that the training absolutely necessary should be necessary, you just need to be a human being, I think, and to have any encounter with any dog ever, to know that Jameson was not a threat in that moment. They are not informed about or trained to use any of the wide variety of non-lethal tools and techniques available as alternatives to discharging their weapon. Pepper spray, taser, any of these things would have not killed Jameson. Most police departments do not have relationships with area animal control agencies, humane societies, or SPCAs that could provide training or assistance in responding to calls where dogs are known or suspected to be present. There are not sufficient consequences for officers who kill innocent animals. We'll get more into that. Many dog shootings do not lead to legal proceedings or disciplinary actions of any kind, and civilian complaints are investigated inadequately. There's not enough legislation to protect animals because dogs are legally considered property and not persons. Officers are allowed to shoot dogs that pose an imminent threat to human safety. However, police claiming they are in imminent danger have shot puppies, chihuahuas, miniature dachshunds, shih tzus, and domesticated cats, among other pets. Studies found that some officers shoot pets unnecessarily, recklessly, or in retaliation. Some animals have been deliberately shot and killed under questionable circumstances, including through doors or while tied, running away, or hiding. How many police officers in the USA have been convicted of killing a dog? A comprehensive study from Bowling Green University of sworn law enforcement officers arrested between 2005 and 2019. He just licked my toe. He's actively just very, very subtly licking my toe. So I appreciate that. I do. I can't give much attention to it, and it's a little weird, but I do appreciate it. I know you're trying to comfort me, and I appreciate it. Sorry. Okay. The question of how many police officers have faced any sort of consequences for killing a dog. This study from Bowling Green, using data between 2005 and 2019, identified only 83 officers across the USA who had been arrested for an animal cruelty offense. Again, we're looking at an estimate of 10,000 dogs a year. 83 over 14 years have been arrested. This subset examines all animal cruelty arrests, meaning the number directly convicted for killing an animal is a fraction of that figure. This includes all animals, not just dogs. 83 officers across the country in those 14 years. Now, if you injure a police dog, good luck. Killing a police dog can be prosecuted at both state and federal levels, with penalties ranging from misdemeanors up to 15 years in prison and significant fines. At the federal level, under a year 2000 federal law, a person who kills a police dog can be sentenced to up to 10 years in prison. At the state level, some states have harsher laws than others. For California, under our Penal Code 600, harming or interfering with a police dog or horse is a criminal offense. If you interfere and they do not suffer an injury, this includes intentionally teasing, agitating, harassing, or interfering with a police animal without causing physical harm. It's a misdemeanor, but it's still punishable by up to 1 year in county jail and a fine of up to $1,000. If you cause physical injury, striking, kicking, otherwise injuring the animal, it can be prosecuted as a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the seriousness of the injury and your criminal history. If you cause intentional death or serious injury with the specific intent to do so, you can be charged with a felony. This can result in a sentence of 2, 3, or 4 years in state prison and an additional consecutive 1 year prison term. So obviously not ideal, but just the juxtaposition between how they treat their dogs versus your dogs. Like most of you, upon hearing this story and seeing the coverage, I was filled with rage and a deep sadness for Marie and Jeremiah. Through that, because I have to think this way, there was a sliver of optimism, and it may be unrealistic, so bear with me, but this is the fluffiest dog that cops have killed in a long time. He is also wearing a basketball jersey. This is a very far-reaching and sticky story. And I think it's shocking even to those who know how many people the police murder. This was still wild to learn about. I just don't think it will be easily forgotten. And while I question the morals of someone who has only just now been radicalized by a dog being killed, they are radicalized nonetheless. And so I see a glimmer of optimism that people who previously had not encountered police violence or the unjustness of our systems have their eyes opened, if only slightly. It's also, I've seen this in the wake of the post, it's also very hard not to think of my own dog in this situation. For those who don't know, I used to have a German Shepherd, and he was very large, and he was very loud, and he was dog reactive. I often thought if he could have been so easily seen as a threat to the type of person that becomes a police officer. And now, even though Javier, who's my little senior dog, who is like, it's very hard to perceive him as a threat in any situation. But if I put myself in that scenario, you'd have to kill me with a headshot, I think. I think that that's the only thing that would prevent me from getting to who did that to my dog. I was gonna do a bit where I got all riled up, and then before I said the things that would get our channel probably nuked from the internet, we were gonna have like a technical difficulties with little elevator music. Thought that'd be funny and imply a lot of the rage I'm feeling. It's important for me to be able to articulate it in words that I can share. And I think it's just a real big bummer that this is the second time our account has felt the need, and me, I felt the need to share these really depressing things with you, because it's a part of our community and it's a part of our world, and it does have to do with dogs, and it would feel so disingenuous to pretend it didn't happen, and to not give you all the emotions needed to affect change. Like, I'm sure everyone who saw this, furious. And I want to be able to channel that and give context to that rage, which I think the first episode back in October was able to funnel a lot of that general rage towards, again, an awareness that ICE is effectively an occupying force, and they are not our friends. We don't share that common goal. And it's so plainly obvious in the situation like Chop that I shared. And this should be so plainly obvious that the police share that same opposing mission in our communities. And at the same time, like, it always feels, you'll notice that how careful I am to weave in the stories of humans who've lost their lives at the hands of the police, because it's not like we're entering ground that nobody is aware of. I'm specifically talking to a demographic of people that's most likely to follow our account that hasn't directly experienced police violence, and give you all a little bit of a perspective that I don't think you would innately have or have encountered. So it's a real shame that this is our second episode talking about police violence, but tragically, it certainly won't be our last. This is just an example that is so absurd that hopefully there is more common ground than previous examples. There's more solidarity with this Doodle wearing a basketball jersey being shot and killed during the night of their favorite team's, first championship in 53 years. Like, it's every detail is more maddening and absurd than the last. One thing Marie kept saying in interviews, she kept saying that she had no idea how it happened, because moments before, it was the highest of highs. I think their GoFundMe page says that it was 10 minutes after they won that Jameson was dead. And it's like, just to that's such a jarring contrast. But yeah, that's a little bit why we're talking about this. Sorry, there's a little bit of a ramble, but yeah, when I think about my own dogs in this situation, I like for someone to to have such authority and a lethal weapon and be so incapable of controlling themselves and their emotions, it is only a reflection of the systems that allowed them to have so much power in the first place. And all of that bubbling into a situation where I'm envisioning myself, I can't. I would. Everyone likes to say like, oh, I would be John Wick. I understand John Wick. I don't have 4 movies in me of that, but I have like, again, it would take a headshot quick, or I'm getting to the individual that did that to my dog. So let me give you some context about how LA works in terms of control of the LAPD, because I think that anger is best utilized when it's channeled and pointed in a direction that could potentially enact some change. So let me give you some context about LAPD, because I live here and I'm allowed to do it. I feel the need to enlighten this audience that we have one of the world's biggest gangs, essentially, that has a budget of approximately $2 billion that is running these particular streets. That is over $5 million a day in funding. That is roughly 14% of the overall city budget. In 2025, LA paid approximately $290 million in total liability payouts. Those payouts come from the city's general fund, which means that they can reduce the funds available for other city departments and services, the much more valuable ones. Out of that $286 million, LAPD related liability accounted for $152 million. That is more than half of all city liability payouts in 2025. Police misconduct and related claims have cost LA hundreds of millions of dollars since 2019. These categories that would fall under that include civil rights violations, police shootings, excessive force, and illegal searches. All of this to say that when their accountability fails, we pay for it. Some historical context when we talk about things like police reform. The LAPD already went through one of the biggest reform experiments in the country after the Rampart scandal. The department entered a federal consent decree in 2001. That decree focused on excessive force, false arrests, searches, critical incident review, gang units, informants, a whole bunch of stuff. The consent decree ended in 2009, with transition supervision continuing until the case was dismissed in 2013. The current oversight that we have, the LAPD is overseen by the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. The Police Commission is a civilian body appointed by the mayor. The Inspector General provides additional oversight, but we currently have a 2-person runoff for mayor in LA this November. It will be between the current mayor, who has failed pretty much every category you can think of, and a candidate that I believe provides a decent amount of hope, and the optimism I have there is very mitigated, but it's there. And I think only one of them will counter the LAPD in any meaningful way. Hey everyone, so I just got home from filming, and the very first thing I saw was a post from one of those 2 candidates in the mayoral runoff in November. This is from Nithya Raman on her Instagram. It's a post with a photo of Jameson in his Knicks shirt. She says, "I'm horrified by what happened in Canoga Park on Saturday. My heart is with Jameson's family. LAPD's review must be thorough, and body-worn camera footage must be promptly released. Whatever the investigation ultimately finds, the outcome of this incident is unacceptable and shakes an already fragile trust in our public safety system. Los Angeles deserves a public safety response where a joyful family celebration does not end in tragedy." So, if you're curious who stands to affect change, I think that was just made clear. I hope that we can continue the pressure on Nithya to follow through with this. You don't need to tell me about empty promises. I'm well aware that the platform can change once elected, but this is the shred of optimism that I was looking for, and it was the first thing I saw when I looked at my phone after filming. So I wanted to share it with you all. That's a concrete thing if you're an LA resident that you can do to perhaps start the snowball of change within this city. In that mayoral runoff, I think it is best to remind ourselves that these people work for us, and we should not necessarily tolerate concessions. This is really the whole reason I made an episode about Spencer Pratt and his weaponization of our love of dogs. Because if he were to be in this runoff, you would see our current mayor, Karen Bass, make concessions to him and move further to the right, even as a so-called Democrat. With Karen against... That was very nice. So if you would like to attempt to get the ball rolling on change, I would look towards the candidate who will challenge the LAPD. And I think it's safe to demand a very specific ask of what their plan would be for dismantling the absurd corruption within the LAPD and strengthening our laws around our pets. At the end of the day, they're begging for our votes, and we're begging for them not to kill us and our pets. So where we're at with Jameson's case is that the family and local advocates are demanding release of the body-worn camera footage, which the LAPD is notorious for misplacing or turning it off. But hopefully that exists. They want the names of the officers involved, and they would like accountability for the shooting overall. And I'm not sure what forms that can look like, but I really hope to find out. The LAPD's Force Investigation Division is investigating, which is comical, because I'm not sure how often they admit any sort of wrongdoing. It's the we investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing type of vibe. LAPD's critical incident video release policy generally points to a release within 45 days of that body camera footage, with exceptions and possible earlier release if officials determine public interest requires it. So that's another thing. I think as I'm recording this on Tuesday night, there's enough public interest to require an expedited release. But we may have to keep that up. And that would also be a short-term ask of you all, is to not forget about this and to continue being loud and sharing details of it as they arrive. The family has set up a GoFundMe. The son, Jeremiah, set it up. It was under 5K when we posted about Jameson on Monday midday. It's at 149.5 and will likely be well over, maybe even 200 by the time that this episode airs. That in itself is an incredible show of support and an indicator of public interest in this situation. I will end with a tweet that I shared in the last episode because I think it's unfortunately incredibly relevant and it's very funny. You talk about cops now, but just wait until a guy breaks into your house and you need to call someone who will show up an hour late and shoot your dog. So, sorry for the heavy episode. Unfortunately, we're just not going to shy away from these situations. It is consistent with our community and my heart to always share these and to provide this context to our community, because I do think it better prepares you all and it keeps you all safer to have this knowledge. But yeah, I hope it's at least a little while before we do another one that is of this same somber tone. If you would like to directly support Jameson's family, we'll leave the GoFundMe that I referenced in the description. And again, if you're local to LA, you do have an opportunity to make your voice heard and demand that it's listened to by those two individuals that are in our mayoral runoff this November. And if you would like a rhinoceros, we have one here for you. He's delightful. His personality is the exact opposite of his appearance. I think that's something that has been made clear during this episode. His name is Harold, ladies and gentlemen, and he is adoptable from Real Good Rescue here in LA. But we do unfortunately have to say goodbye to Mr. Harold. I think we need to do more of those surprise entrances. That was really good, especially if they're a weird looking guy or gal, especially if they're a little bit weird. I think my natural reaction, Jess, my occasional co-host, her reaction would be delightful. But I might actually just curl up beside him for a little bit. That might be what I need. But if you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you're listening to this, add us to your playlist on Apple or Spotify, and we'll see you next time with another Adoptable special guest.
Oh, that looks like a good dog. That's a good dog. Yeah, that looks like a good dog. A very good dog. Hey, that looks like a